Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing great. Welcome to your Sunday weekly collective. As you can see, I went ahead and posted everything there in chat. Thank you so much for everyone that voted. The topic that we're going to be looking at today is the lion, focusing on finding that courage within to do what's necessary. I really like the topic that you chose. I think that this is going to help all of us. It doesn't really matter where we're at to kind of make necessary changes and shifts within our life. And I think that it's super timely since we're really entering into the final month of the year. In fact, in December, I'll be looking at January. So this is a great way to get ahead of all of those New Year's resolutions and make changes happen right here and right now. So for those of you that have been following me for a while, I've been doing this for over 7 years now. This December marks the full 2 year. I'm starting the third year of doing it live. So this is a very kind of cool month and cool time to be joining in. I'm going to stop doing the intro at the beginning because I feel like most of you know what I'm doing. I pasted it instead. So we're just going to get straight into the reading today. Let me introduce myself first, though. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. The very first portion of the reading is going to be the channeled messages. You can look at what I just put into chat to see the other parts, but basically we'll do this, the 7-day forecast, and then I'll get into the special topic. I'll go into more specifics as I go through each one, but I just want to get started. And I know you have a lot here that you want to see. So today we're actually going to kind of try something different, because one thing that I always love to do on this channel is to sort of like give new things an opportunity or a chance, try new things. All right, so I like to begin when I look at a spirit totem to look at an animal or something in nature that can connect us to the energy. This part of the reading is going to be for everybody present. When we drill into the 7-day forecast, I'll actually have some science-specific stuff. So right now, just open up your ears, open up your heart, open up your mind, and let's see what's coming through. So your spirit totem today is mostly the lion. There's a little bit about the rose that I'll cover at the end, but let's really get into the energy of the lion here. So first of all, let's take a look. They're not identical. The male lions have the lion, the mane, of course, around them, and the female lionesses, are as such. And then I also brought up a little picture of the cub, which is adorable. So just to kind of get some mental imagery of this beautiful, majestic animal that we're going to talk about first. Lions are kind of really interesting because they're an apex predator, which means top of their sort of the food chain. For you, that puts you in a position of power. And it's really what we're going to be looking at this month is how to find the power, the energy that you already have within. And that's what we'll be looking at when I kind of take a look at the main topic. But let's kind of talk about how the lion is important for you and some fun facts about it as well, because this helps us understand the totem that you chose, actually. So one thing that I found interesting in my research is that the lions are one of the big cats that are more social than others. A lot of different types of cats in general, but especially the big cats like panthers, etc., tend to be a little bit more solo. But the lions hang out in what's known as a pride of about 30 to 40 different cats. Interestingly enough, the female lions or the lionesses, they actually are the hunters. They are the really, really strong ones that kind of go out, find the food, while the males protect the boundaries. They kind of stay at home. They're like stay-at-home dads, and the lionesses are out there getting things done. They do share the job of rearing the cubs. And I think that this sort of teamwork and even a little bit of a flip on the gender sort of roles that we would see in traditional society is kind of interesting when you're looking at the totem. Again, the territorial energy that comes through with the males is worth noting, and we'll relate that to you in just a second. I think that I want to look at the word pride. First of all, it's kind of interesting that we call it a pride of lions. So I think that it's important to be proud of what you do, to take pride in working hard, to love what you're doing, love who you are. All of that's important. But sometimes the pride gets in the way of being able to reach out and ask for help, to really sort of even embrace change, because you think, if I don't do what I said I was going to do, even though now I've changed and I have additional information, does that make me look silly, or does that make me look weak? When in fact, change and leaning on people, asking for help, continuing to sort of shift is part of growth in general, right? So I think that if you need help, ask for help. If you need to look at something and think, oh, I could have done better, look at it less as I made a mistake and more, I learned something from that. Because if you do that, there's no regret. Basically, the past can inform, shape, sometimes shake up too, and direct the future rather than sort of being this thing where you look back and think to yourself, I could have done better, I should have done better. Maybe that was true, but now you will do better. You can do better because of the life experiences that came through. So be proud instead that you are learning, growing, and unafraid to explore new things and to learn from mistakes. That's all that's required. Then a mistake is no longer that, it's a lesson, right? So it's really just sometimes, if you want to think about it, it's using a different vocabulary word, looking at something. That's why language is so powerful, by the way. So a lot of times when there's a government or something that wants to come in and control people, the first thing that they're going to do is try to destroy language or history, because when you take away the history or the language, then the power to think and reframe things kind of goes away. So one of your internal tools that you have already to have the courage to get things done, moving already into our theme today, is to just sit down for a second and think, how could I rephrase this mentally and symbolically so that it's no longer taking the wind out of my sails, so that it no longer makes me feel like I'm not powerful? How can I look at this as something that I can, again, create something from? It's basically, you can rise from the ashes. Okay. I think these are important things to kind of think about. Using pride again here and sort of looking at the territorial things here, I think it's good to protect what matters most in your life. For instance, your safety, your mental health. I would even say if you've created something, your intellectual property, the things in your life that are really near and dear to you, of course, your friends, your family, all of that. But avoid being overprotective or territorial in general. The overprotective piece can be interesting for those of you that are a parent or are in charge of looking after somebody or something. Sometimes we veer into this side of being way too conservative and worrying that any misstep, any sort of freedom that you give to somebody could lead to a problem, when in fact we need to trust and empower so that the people that we're looking over have the ability to fend for themselves. In nature, that's sort of the goal of all parents. When you look at animals, they can't be there forever for their children. They want to give them all of the tools that they need, and then a lot of times they push them out of the nest so that they can move on. So we want to empower the people around us. You want to be working with people and surrounding yourself with people that are equal than or greater than your energy, your power, your intellect, because that way you're going to be able to continue to grow, to continue to evolve. And I think that that's something that sometimes we underestimate, is the power of just really trusting that we're going to be okay, even when, or especially when, people move on, because that's a sign that you set them up for success. Okay. Makes you a good parent, makes you a good leader, makes you a good boss. If someone in your life won't let you grow the way that you need to, that's actually a sign of fear or weakness, or be like devil, like possessive energy, because they want to hold on to you. So we want to avoid strength reversed, empress or emperor reversed, and the devil card upright, or in any position really. But because all of those cards are showing issues with control. So you are in control, you are empowered, and part of that means being confident in yourself and in others, and knowing that you don't have to have people depending on you all the time. So that actually frees you up to do other things, right? I think that's really important. I didn't have time to write this in the cards, but there is a sort of pecking order for the pride of lions. The cubs, of course, being at the bottom of that heap, and then it kind of goes to the lionesses, and then the lions, and then it has to do with age and all of that jazz. So one thing that we might be looking at for you this month is dealing with that sort of pecking order or hierarchy. And you may be more like the Hierophant in reverse, where you're going to go in with a different way of working. And it could sometimes cause a little friction between you and the establishment, or you and someone who's more traditional. So you're going to have to find ways to relate to them, and sort of even maybe pitch the idea to them and say, well, this is why it's important. This is why this is actually going to help you. We have to change to evolve. If you continue to find yourself fighting for resources after you've kind of shared that, after you've spoken up, that's actually a big red flag, saying it's time to either elevate, go to a different person, or move on, because you should be supported. You shouldn't have to always be fighting for equity in a situation. The voice of the lion is something that I've covered this totem before, but I haven't looked at this fact. I always try to find some different angles and some different information if I cover a totem for the second time or third time. So this is something new to me, and I'm sure some of you know, but not all of you. So the lion roar can be heard up to 5 miles or around 8 kilometers away from the source. Your voice matters. Your voice carries. It's so funny. When my dad used to be alive, when I was a kid, I had a big voice. He would say, keep your voice down, it carries. And again, that's one thing. If I were to go back and talk to him, I would say that's a good thing. You know, I'm not actually an overly loud person, but I'm not quiet either. And that actually is important when it comes to negotiations, defending yourself, being in a situation where someone is hoping that you won't say something. If you have something, and this is the big if with the double underline, if you have something good to say, if you have something to add to the conversation, by all means, find an appropriate time and an appropriate way to say it. That's what you're there for. So I would say it's good that your voice carries. Use it when appropriate. Don't just use it to use it. That's kind of like just chatter, like a bunch of birds or crows out there that are cawing for, you know, for no sake. We don't understand what they're saying, but sometimes it's just noise, or like a lawnmower in the background where it's just making a lot of noise. Use it when it's important, and you'll be surprised what kind of impact that will have. I think for many of you, your story, your struggle, your situation could resonate with a lot more people than you may give yourself credit for. You could be the catalyst. I talk about catalysts a lot, but you could be the catalyst of change, for change. Take that movement, take that action now. One thing that I've been trying to impart on all signs right now is that this is the time, at the end of November, the beginning of December, to really get the movement happening. And honestly, all year long, you can have little New Year's celebrations, because you're always going to, sometimes it's our solar return, sometimes it's an anniversary, whatever. It doesn't have to happen on January 31st, or I'm sorry, January 1st, December 31st. We don't have to wait for a magical day on the calendar, because it is arbitrary. So if you feel like making a change, don't wait. Do it now. And I know some people are thinking, well, Hanukkah, by the way, happy Hanukkah. You know, we're in the middle of holidays here because we have Hanukkah, Christmas, you know, Kwanzaa, New Year's, and any number of other things that I might have missed in between. And it's sort of like it's inconvenient. Here in the United States, a lot of times towards the end of the month, it's hard to get anything done because everyone's taking a vacation or holiday. You can still do a lot of work. And I've actually found some of my best jobs, one of the best jobs of my career, when I sent out an application the last week of December, right around New Year's. And I got a reply back right after the holiday. And I got ahead of something because I kind of intuited that this was a place to go. And they're like, how did you know we're looking for this job? I don't know. I guess I was intuitive and I didn't know then, but I found one of my best jobs by doing that. So yes, you can find a job over the holidays. Yes, you can make a big life change. You could move. You can do whatever you want. It's just a time of the year. So this is a very powerful moment. And especially, you know, Halloween's big, but I would say that nexus between one year and another, it's also pretty big. And you can kind of move through that change anywhere in December and January. So the time is now. Okay. Also kind of focusing on lions, when I was looking at the males, they have manes that grow. They get longer each year. The color changes a little bit. I believe they get darker. This actually is a sign of wisdom, strength, and dominance. So they actually embrace age. We're in a weird place in society right now where we do everything possible to look younger. So, you know, we start to stretch our face, inject things in it, paint it up, do all this stuff, dye things, because we're afraid of showing our wisdom, our age, our experience. So one thing, like, it's okay, you can do things because it makes you feel good. But what this is really sort of symbolically saying is, don't completely hide from your birth date, your age, because it's also a sign of survival, wisdom, experience. I would rather be with someone who's been through a lot of ups and downs, been through losses, been through gains, understands empathy because of those experiences, than someone who's green behind the ears. So if you are experienced in your life, lean into that experience. Phrase it in a way that helps people understand why your age and or experience is something that's singular, is something that is highlighting what you have to offer. Okay. If you're younger, then don't let ageism, because it can work either way. If you have a great idea, when we look at a lot of the tech companies right now, a lot of the CEOs were very young, and a lot of the big brands that we're using, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, for better or for worse, a lot of the main brands out there were created by very young people. So age isn't everything. You can be young and very sort of inventive. Apple and Microsoft, other companies too, they all started out of like garages and small little ideas with, all of those leaders of those companies, they all have their quirks, right? But they were mostly young when they started them, and that says something there too. But I believe that they also surrounded themselves with people that had some age and experience. So why can't we mix? Why does it have to be either or? Why can't we kind of have a blending here? So either way, fight for what's important for you and don't let age get in the way. If you are older, age is power. If you are younger, wisdom can come through at any age. So the message here is to look beyond the number, okay? And not hide behind the number either. Just embrace it. In dreams, I was shown something really cool there. The main thing that I was getting was this sweet nostalgic energy, as if we were looking at a vignette of your life, whether it was a job or a relationship or just a moment where maybe you didn't realize what you had. I was just talking to Aquarius about that old Joni Mitchell song, "You don't know what you got to till it's gone." So sometimes in life, we have to move past, and actually have a decent amount of space between an event to understand the potency and the importance of it. So my message to you today would be to look at where you're at right now and try to drink in the sweetness of it too. A lot of times we focus on the sour, but there's also some sweetness to it. So if you can find that kind of energy right now, I was back in time and I thought, but I don't belong here anymore. I was in an old job or something, and I just was really having like the time of my life because I didn't care what people thought. I had more confidence than I did when I was very young. And I just thought to myself, wow, what a blast it would have been if I was this version of myself in that body. So if you are younger, don't care so much about what people think. We're going to talk about this in a second. Don't worry so much about the status quo. You're going to have your whole life to prove yourself. So just really be authentic, really kind of be yourself, and imagine if you could have gone back and relived some things in the past, what you would have done, and then do that now. Speak up now. Say what you need to now. So I think that's important. I was watching the Great British Bake Off, or the Great British Baking Show. One of the, I'm not going to spoil who won, so enjoy it. But one of the finalists, he has a new sort of approach to life because, again, his father died at a young age, and he decided then to travel, to do things, to join shows like that. And I thought it was a really cool sort of approach because you never know how much time we have on the planet, and who cares if you're brand new or if you've had a lot of experience, because he was inexperienced. That's what I like about that show. They are mixing people that are professional, sometimes working as bakers, and then a lot of just home chefs, or home bakers. So you see a wide variety of skills, but you can see people that have no experience but can do the same thing as some people that have been doing it their whole lives because they're not afraid. So losing the fear, and it's sometimes just talking yourself into thinking, what have I got to lose? Like, let's give this a shot. So it's worth doing, okay? Again, when you combine the experience with that sort of naivete that often brings us that courage, then you're unstoppable. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, okay? All right. I could not mention this without talking about the Wizard of Oz. So like the Lion in the Wizard of Oz, you have that which you seek. At the end, there's this sort of ceremony where he gives each one of the main four characters that helped out Dorothy, or was it 3 or 4? I forget. A little thing to wear around their neck. But it was just a symbol. It was just a ceremony. The lion had proven that it wasn't a coward throughout the journey. So for some of us, we're looking for external validation, the plaque, the title, the approval from parents. And the truth is, all it is what the Wizard of Oz put around your neck. It's nice to have, but you don't need it. So focus less on the 6 of Wands, right? And that's really what this is about here. You don't need that ceremony, the pomp and circumstance. It's nice to have. One thing that I really have appreciated 7 years into doing my own thing is that I don't care what people call me, like what my title is, because it changes based on what I do. I can write, I can speak, I can create digital content, I can produce, I can edit. So who cares what one title is? A lot of times when you see actors and performers or artists, they have all those slashes because it is sort of like actor, singer, producer. So why should we be one thing? I actually had someone who denied me. This was like a dream job that I was at, and there was I had been freelancing for almost 4 years, and then there was a takeover. And they said, well, you do a lot of things. You can write, you can design, you can do this, you can produce. What do you want to do? I said, why can't I do them all? I'm having fun doing all of that. They were looking for someone that just wanted to be an art director, which I later was able to do anyway. But I thought in retrospect, that person really lacked imagination, perspective, and sort of like, I don't know what they wanted. They wanted someone that would just file in line and probably say yes. And that's never going to be me. So you don't have to be just one thing. You can be a lot of things. What you decide to do with that is up to you. I think you can have, like the magician uses all the tools, but he doesn't have to use them all at once. So I kind of play with that toolbox however I need to. And how, it's kind of how limited of someone to think that you have to just be in one swim lane. So find your own path if you need to. And sometimes people around you make you feel bad for who you are, and you shouldn't let it happen. In retrospect, I wouldn't have even cared about that interview, but whatever, it is what it is. So again, it's kind of fun to look back on the past, and it's all gone. That version of me is gone, and there's something else that's replaced it. So know that you are someone different than you were when you went through some of the setbacks. You're going to be okay in the future. So that's what the line brought us already. I can't wait to see what additional messages come up through the cards when we look at the main topic. Okay. By the way, thanks to everybody who's giving back right now. I will individually say thank you name by name at the very end of the video. Okay. The next piece that I saw was a rose, and I love roses, but they are a complicated flower to grow. Let me just kind of, I'll focus on the rose and then I'll focus on the next thing. So to me, when we think of them, if you look at a yellow rose, it can be like peace and friendship, or white rose. The red ones can be passion. Each one have like a different meaning, a different color. But to me, they can also be ends and beginnings. If you look at the Fool card here on this little tin here, he's carrying a rose. Depends on what illustration you're looking at with death, but the pendant usually has a white flower. Sometimes it's a rose. So yeah, look at that. So there you go. So there's usually a rose can indicate, in this case, ends and beginnings, right? So I think for you, one of the things you want to look at right now, especially since we're at that point in our life where we're looking at the end of the year and resolutions, is what do I want to start? What do I want to end? And remember, one little thorn on that rose doesn't detract from the blossom or the growth. So this was the main message that Spirit wanted me to bring through for the rose. It's making a guest appearance or a cameo today, but it's basically that roses look beautiful, but they take a lot of work to maintain. You have to prune them, and they have thorns. They're not all beautiful. So you've got to, fertilize them, prune them. They are very prone to getting things like aphids. So, you have to, if you want to use a non sort of like chemical solution, you can get ladybugs and put the larva there so that they'll eat up all of the sort of predators that are kind of getting at it. But be that as it may, they're complicated. They require work, and maybe we are all roses in some respect, right? We take some work to get to that blossom, but isn't it worth it? It's super sweet when you get to that moment. So do the work necessary, prune out what you don't need, get rid of anything that's kind of hanging on to you like a barnacle or an aphid, feed yourself, take care of yourself. All of that's important. And I kind of did this out of order, but the last thing that I want to talk about today is this sort of bold display, just like we would see with flowers, like a beautiful display of flowers. Spirit showed me a changing room, but it wasn't, upon reflection and upon kind of looking back at the symbology, it wasn't about what you're wearing. It's about what you're projecting. It's a persona. So I saw you sitting in a sort of changing room with Spirit, and it was almost like they were your stylist, right? And they were pulling out a wardrobe to try on. As you were trying on the different things, what I saw was your stylist was saying, how about this one? It's a little bit bolder than you're used to, but I think this will go off really well. Why don't you try this? A little bit more color, a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more dazzle. So that combined with the rose is showing me that there's this opportunity to show up. Don't hold back. And I also saw that there's going to be a couple of trials here. I feel like the first time it might be a little shaky, and then you're going to find your ground. So whether this is like a date, an interview, or you trying something new, just like if you think back for those of you that have learned to ride a bike, you remember how wobbly it was when you went from maybe like having training wheels or different kind of bike to just the two. You have to find your balance. Usually you need someone to steady you. You fall a few times. So I had to have like a neighbor friend kind of show me how to do it. And ultimately, I figured out by going down a hill, it was going to help me because then I didn't have to worry about pumping and everything. So, it was kind of a cool moment just to kind of realize, oh, I can do this. This isn't that hard. And I think for you, this is about taking the training wheels off, knowing that you've got what it takes. You may scrape your knee a little bit, but you're going to be okay. You'll find that steady ground. Okay. So those are your powerful messages that came through. You chose the main totem. I chose some of the supporting stuff. So thank you for the teamwork. That's one of the fun things that's been a part of this sort of channel. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, you have a chance to vote every weekend on the topics. So those of you that are members or Patreon supporters get a second vote. And when I get really close, like 3 to 5 percentage points, that can make a difference. But at any rate, I appreciate everyone that voted on today's topic. It's on the community tab in the future, so you can feel free to watch it there and in future weeks to come. Usually every Saturday, I'll put it there and you can vote on it. So all of these things that I wrote, just a nice little segue here. If you want to follow me on social media, you can look at the pinned comment that I put up above. I will always post these within a day of the broadcast typically, so you can look at that snapshot to make sure that you got everything. I also will insert time codes later today. Just takes me a little bit of time to do that. If you're new, please hit subscribe. If you're returning, hit the like button as well. It helps. And leave a comment later when this is on replay. I noticed some people have already started to give back. Thank you so much. I saw some really generous contributions. I got a new deck of cards today. I want to show you that real quick, and then we'll get into the 7-day forecast. But if you want to give back, it helps me buy new supplies and do more videos. You can also join and become a weekly or a monthly sort of supporter. That way you can just enjoy it, and it helps me. And if you're on replay, you can also do thanks. Let's talk about the new deck, and then I'll get into... I'm going to save this for the main forecast, but I got 2 new ones. I like to support people that are indie card creators. So like one of the decks that I'll be using probably for the 7-day forecast is Afro Goddess, and that one was an indie deck. So this is a recreation of an existing one. It was the Ethereal Visions Tarot, but this is a Luna edition. I'll have to shuffle it a bit because it's brand new here today. But the artist did a great job of like recreating the cards to put more diversity in it, which I really appreciate, and also creating just this new foil attempt here, so treatment here. So really, really love it. I'll be using this today, so you guys help me buy this. And I also sprung for the bonus deck, which I'll be using for probably Blessings and Blocks here. So this is the Oracle deck. So thank you so much. The links are on my website. I don't get a kickback on this because this is a Kickstarter campaign. If you do anything from Amazon, those are affiliate links if you want to support me. But sometimes I just like to help some independent artists out there. It's a cool deck. We'll be using it today. So thanks to somebody who actually recommended that I check this out, and it was great. So that's how I kind of give back a little bit. And thank you. All right. So let's get into the next portion of today's reading. I'd like to go straight into the 7-day forecast. I'm going to use another deck that is fairly new, the Afro Goddess deck here. So this is going to help us through the next 7 days. Again, this portion is for everybody present. I'm going to do elements here in just a few moments, looking at earth, air, water, fire, etc. And that will be specific to the signs. So let's go ahead now and take a look at the 7-day forecast. If you just joined, perfect timing. We're looking at the energy that we're all under for the next 7 days. So let's see what's coming through. We'll do it from Sunday to Sunday. All right, so let me just make sure we've got, yes, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, we got all the cards here. Let's go ahead and talk about the week ahead. All right, so for today, we have the Empress card in reverse. This kind of goes back to what I was just talking about in the channeled messages, which is learning when to hold on and when to let go. what I like about this Empress card is we see all of these sort of autumnal energy, which shows us harvest, which shows us that, you know, you've worked hard to get where you're at. We also kind of see all the zodiac symbols above her. But what I'm seeing with this here is it's really important to focus on personal development, letting go of things. And I was talking earlier about sometimes like letting people experience the sort of freedom that they need. If you have children, maybe they want to study abroad. Maybe if you're in a relationship, you're just giving one another a little bit of space to sort out personal matters. If you're at a job and you're trying to help oversee someone, they're not at harm of doing anything. It's just sort of like, I know that they probably need a little help here. Let them come to you. The power of this card, and also Queen or King of Wands in reverse, is to keep the door open, remind people that you have a lot of experience, and then let them come to you. And then if they make a mistake, don't say, I told you so, but instead sort of just remind them, we'll figure this out. And, you know, and you could even sort of use questions, especially if it is a child. I would say even like, someone that you're overseeing a job, or even just a friend that's not really looking for, you know, your advice. You could just say, well, what would you have done different? And what, you know, you can just kind of play an advocate with them and help them think through it. Because sometimes people just need to talk it out or think it through. So be there in that capacity, but kind of focus more on you right now. So this is a really good time to take a look at things in your life, like your finances, your health, your house, your car. Fix those sorts of things, what's near and dear to you. And if there's something that you've been holding on and wondering, should I release it? We see the pregnant sort of archetype on this, the mother. Then this is also about birthing something. So if you have a project, a goal, an aspiration, and you've been thinking, okay, once I finish this, then I'll do this, and after this, and you keep putting it on the back shelf, this is the time to put it front and center and say, all right, I think I'm ready to do this. What am I afraid of? What am I hiding? When is it going to be the right time? Now is the right time. All right. So focusing on you, working on things in your life, staying accountable to what you need to do, and letting people come to you as needed. Never trying to play like being overly bossy with someone or anything like that. So give people space and use the new time and energy to focus on personal development. Monday is a day of rest. We have the 10 of Swords. So for many of you, you may just be burned out. This actually is not uncommon after a holiday, right? So for those of us in the United States, many of you have celebrated Thanksgiving. Maybe you ate a little bit too much. Maybe you had to do a lot of traveling. Some of you might be traveling home today and missing this because you're on a plane or a train or something like that. And what happens is we're just like, why did I need a vacation from my vacation. So that's not an uncommon thing. Take some time to yourself, get enough sleep, avoid any unnecessary conflict or negotiations on Monday. For the rest of you, where it's not a holiday and it's just sort of like checking in, Monday's a day to really take a deep breath before you use that lion's roar. There's going to be plenty of days to do it. Monday's not the day. So I think what you want to be mindful of is anyone in your life that's trying to get or elicit some sort of a response that you know is not going to be great. So if they say something provocative or controversial, I would counter it. Questions are your best friend. Again, my background is in journalism. So rather than getting angry or even or upset, get to the bottom of it. So say, this seems out of character. Where's this coming from? Or how long have you felt this way? Or tell me a little bit more about this. I need more information. Or let's slow down. I need to understand. Take a deep breath and tell me what's going on. Ask for more information rather than saying something that you're going to regret. Because the one thing with the 10 of Swords is once you spill the words, that's why the blood kind of represents that. It's there. It's out on the table. But if you just take one sword at a time and figure out what's going on, you're going to be all right. You may need to get something like acupuncture. You may need a massage. A lot of times the 10 of Swords can indicate chronic pain or fatigue in your life. It can also be just something you're sick of. There could be something that's going on, and this is the final straw. Enough is enough, and you are ready now that after this full stop to begin something new. The good news is there's always a sign of hope. If you look right behind her, we see a new day that's dawning, and we see a little butterfly saying you're going to get through whatever this is, okay? For many of you, you can completely avoid it by kind of following some of those pieces of advice, especially pausing before speaking, asking questions before jumping to some sort of a conclusion, and then just taking care of your health and yourself. Whenever I talk about a health card, always work with a doctor, of course. This is just talking about needing to make a change for the better, an end of a cycle in your life specifically. All right, Tuesday looks radically different. So if you just do some self-care on Monday, that's going to be great. Tuesday's looking great. We have the 10 of Cups coming through. Really good time to interact with other people. For those of you that are looking for love, this is a good day to get out there and socialize. If you're in a new relationship, you may feel like spending some time. Here's an interesting sort of connection. This can be making up after having an argument. So I do see like a silver lining to whatever this is. Let's just try to avoid it altogether. Let's go to a different 10 instead. 10 of Wands is fine. 10 of Cups is fine. 10 of Pentacles is fine. Let's avoid the 10 of Swords. So the good news on Tuesday is your people skills seem to be shining really brightly. And it also feels like it's a very welcoming day. I love the rainbow here. This is showing that there's room for different points of view. And so, yeah, it's a great day overall. Really good for interacting with people. So if you need to negotiate a price point, if you need to negotiate a contract, if you need to tell someone what's on your mind, don't do it on Monday if you can avoid it. Do it on Tuesday, much better, much better. Yeah, I love it. Family could play a really important part on Tuesday as well. 10 of Cups is usually the most intimate relationships that we have in our life. So people in your life may need you a little bit more, but it is upright. It feels like it's going to be a generous and sort of generally good energy on Tuesday. So I like it. As we look at Wednesday, this is a day to get organized. I love a Page of Wands. You could find yourself, because of what I'm seeing with Monday, this could be sort of like mop-up duty. So someone may task you with cleaning up a mess. If they do this, make sure that you understand why it's happening and make sure that they're involved with this too. I don't know why I got that sort of visual, but someone could be trying to hand off a mess to you. And Wands in general, particularly the Page, the Knight, the Queen, and the King, they're very good at organizing, conducting, project managing. But for this one, it almost feels like you deserve more credit or more support than you may be getting. So ask for help if you need it. Make sure that there's a protection in place, perhaps if there's a lot that you're going to have to do, so that, again, they're somehow involved, that it's not all sitting on you. The good news here is if you're open to new ideas, this is a good day for development. You may be given an idea or an option or opportunity. You could also pitch an idea to someone else. This is a good day for those of you that are job seeking or looking for something. It's a good find and seek day, okay? So things that have been eluding you no longer will. On Wednesday, it feels like you have a good chance of figuring it out, getting some order to the chaos. All right, so now we're back into a sort of energy of shifting and movement. I actually like to read this particular illustration of the card as positive. The Five of Pentacles, we're seeing a movement away from not having enough to understanding that you've always had the capacity to have more. So you've got to open up a doorway. You have to kind of ask for something. What's missing from this particular card is usually shelter or another person. Both of those are important pieces to it, but we could imagine that on the other side of this is something better, a greener pasture. So let's talk about the traditional Five of Pentacles. It often indicates that we feel left out. We're afraid to talk to someone because they haven't listened to us the way they should have before. We're harboring an internal wound on our heart because of something that was said in the past, or we simply just don't believe in ourselves. All of these things have more to do with the fact that it's 5 and not 10 than anything else. Like the last piece especially, it's just sort of like fear and holding on to the past. It's not that you can't get the abundance or the resources or the opening of the door, or in this case, the gate. It's more that you are feeling held back by the aggregate of one or more of these experiences. So what you want to do right now is just think, today's a different day. I'm not going to let that define me anymore. And if you can kind of find the sweetness in the bitter piece, then you're going to be able to look at it, roses and thorns, right? There's always something good and there's always something that you wish you could leave behind. But if you can kind of look at how you've changed and how you're going to be stronger, you'll be okay. Don't sell yourself short. Don't accept less than what's necessary. I really would love to see you with the Six of Pentacles at a bare minimum here. So if somebody tries to overcharge you, if someone tries to underpay you, if someone consistently underappreciates you, all of these things are kind of part of the Five of Pentacles, and you want to make sure that that does not happen, right? So this is a time to find your roar, find your power. Cool. Let me see if there's anything else with this. One other thing, again, it's not in this particular card, but just because I can kind of like conjure up the Rider-Waite-Smith in my head, the other thing that I would talk about is paying attention to, for those of you that are in colder climates, making sure that you don't slip or fall. A lot of times this has to do with the health of your knees, your joints, your ankles. It can also be, as we see here, inclement weather that can cause pain if you've already had an injury, or you could slip and fall. So just watch where you're walking and be extra careful with hips, knees, ankles, everything in that vicinity. Circulation especially, so walk a little bit if you can. All right, looking at Friday, feels like you got things under control once more. We have the Chariot here, which is showing that you might have to actually take up the leadership role, even if that's not something that you want to do. And you have to somehow bridge the gap between very different points of view. So we have the urban jungle of the city here, and then we have the desert here. And we have someone kind of right in the center, walking the middle. So you don't have to choose a side per se. What you might have to do is help people find a direction, but I don't necessarily think things are as simple as black and white. The interesting thing on this particular card that I haven't noticed till now is that there's a little river that runs through both. So there is this common thread. So if you can find the common thread in your situation, you're going to be all right, okay? We have sort of a nice little emerald color here with the crystal as well. I associate that with the heart, also with growth and renewal. And that's nice that we kind of see that green arrow here where you don't see a lot. So you have the power to bring growth and energy into anything that you put your hands on right now. So we talked about the Midas touch recently in one of the collectives. So this is your ability to kind of see that start to happen. So don't underestimate your ability to make it work. All right, you do have a few interesting days. You have another one here coming through next Saturday. We have the Seven of Swords reverse. So if I'm going to get this card, I much prefer it in the reverse. We see that something finally comes to light, kind of like literally, not just figuratively on this card. With the Seven of Swords, I'm a firm believer in karma. I think that there's always a reason and a season, and there's a time and a way that things are going to work themselves out. I recently said that to someone who was behaving poorly, and then something happened. And I just said, karma, this isn't the right thing to do. And it's not for me to argue, but I just know karmically, energy won't keep sitting like this. You can't abuse power, for instance, and keep abusing it and expect that there won't be a repercussion. It may not come in the way that you think, but there's something that's going to balance the scales out. So you are going to probably be witness to some karmic balancing next Saturday. Remember also the lesson of not needing to be the punisher or the judgment in this sort of thing. Our jobs are really just to kind of like stay on the right path, right? Do the right thing, be accountable, make sure that other people know that you see when they're not accountable. But unless it's within your position to somehow like change that, you can bring light to it, you can fight for change, but this person's creating their own path. Sometimes people don't want help. So there could be someone in your life that is resistant to help, that doesn't want to change, that's going down a weird path. This is them sort of, there's going to be a readjustment happening. For everyone else, this is just saying that you're finally ready to face something that you weren't before. So if there's been some challenges in your health, in your career, whatever, finally you kind of look at it and think, okay, yeah, I see my part in this. I now understand what I want to do, what I need to do. I'm not going to punish myself either. Judgment needs to not be here. No judgment, no fear. I just see the truth. Transparency, honesty, and sort of that light of truth is how you can get the energy of the Seven of Swords to dissipate. Speak your truth. Show someone else that you see the truth. They're probably not going to want to exist in that light for too long because they don't want to see it. That's the truth with the Seven of Swords oftentimes. They're trying to get away with something. So there's honesty, transparency, and acceptance and accountability that I think is coming in to help you. And you're going to see some stuff playing out around you, many of you. And it's often affirming to see that because you realize that there is sort of a cosmic sense of justice that happens eventually. Okay? Don't overcommit. Don't say you can do something if you can't. Don't lie. There's different ways to sort of say the truth so it's not hurtful. but try not to say something that isn't true or that you can't do, and then you can evade the Seven of Swords. Okay. Next Sunday, things are moving in a good direction. We have the Six of Swords, one of my favorite illustrations for this. You see her heading towards a nicer horizon. Card is in reverse, so some of you are a little bit apprehensive about the change, maybe the speed with which it's happening. It's either too fast or too slow. Some of you might be holding on to something from the past. The Lightseers deck, which is one that I use a lot, has a really cool Six of Swords where we see 3 ravens or crows pulling the character in one direction and then 3 in the other, or guiding it in the other. And it's really just a question of, are you being led by the future or the past? Nostalgia definitely played into the dream messages from today. But I felt like a good sense of nostalgia, and then that I didn't want to go back. It was like nice to see it for 2 or 3 minutes. And I thought, then I started to worry. I'm like, well, wait, I got to show up to YouTube. I got some other things to do. I can't do that if I'm at this old job. And so I was happy to let it go. It was just a figment of my past self. So I feel like movement's necessary. If you've been looking to move, this could also be an auspicious sign that seems to be coming through like a blinking light over the past couple months. So you might get a signal. So whether it's an acceptance of a new job, or you get a house or an apartment or some sort of a lead towards that movement, that could be exciting for you too. Ultimately, I'm happy to see the Six of Swords at the 7-day mark because it shows me that we're all moving in the right direction. Okay, great. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the blessings and blocks, and then we'll get into the elements. So I want to use the new Oracle cards for this. Let me give them a good shuffle. If you go to my website, the new deck is there, and then the Oracle cards are on that page too. So, okay, so let's take a look at this. I think that now these are all on pre-order though, or because I was part of the Kickstarting campaign, so you may have to wait a little bit. All right, so blessings and blocks work this way. Blessings are something that you just want to embrace. Even if it looks weird, it's coming through for a reason, so it can be a blessing in disguise. Blocks are something that you want to try to be aware of, just like we were looking at the Seven of Swords. There'd be a way to sort of transmute it or mold it into something different. So we'll start with the blessings first. Okay, so we have the Death Mother here coming through, saying that change is necessary. For many of you, you've been waiting for the change for a while. So I think that if you've felt this sort of stagnation, this is sort of the full stop moment that I was talking about on Monday. I think that some of you just finally feel like, I can't afford to not allow for the change to happen. I'm ready to surrender to that. Even if that means a death of an old part of me or a change of something that I've been holding, firm to, it's okay. So I like that we have like a maternal energy. Not, one thing that I believe angels, most angels, if not all, they don't have gender. We assign a gender because of our filters, but when I truly kind of tune into the energy, they don't. Gender's a construct for this sort of planet, and in some, like, you don't need it everywhere. But an energy that never took a corporeal form, it's everything. It's divine, masculine, feminine, and anything else that we didn't even know that existed. So this is just coming through to saying that the change is a nurturing force and a developmental force, and that you're protected during this period of change. So once you surrender to the change and look at it less as death, more as transformation or movement, you're going to be okay. It doesn't surprise me that that comes on the heels of the Six of Swords, both of them being reversed, because it's basically showing a different form of movement. Four of Swords, Six of Swords, death, all are change cards. Honestly, even the Wheel of Fortune and the World card or the Fool can show different levels of movement as well. So it just feels like a necessary change is happening. You may have to be willing to kind of surrender to it, but change is your friend, and that's the blessing. Whatever changes are happening, whatever it took you to get to the moment where you think, I want that change, well, it's all here for a reason, okay? So let's go ahead now and take a look at blocks. And by the way, this is the special Dream Catcher Oracle and the Ethereal Vision. Yeah, they're very different. The colors are going to be fantastic. We're not voting today probably on anything just because I have cool decks and we're going to use them. Normally I'll let you vote, but for these, we're just going to go with it. And yeah, I love the iridescence on this too. All right, so let's go ahead now and take a look at blocks. So blocks, we have the Sun Bear here, which I love. love the bear as a totem. So a few things come through with the bear. First of all, we had the territorial energy of the male lions. That definitely comes through with the bears. Whether it's a mama or papa bear, they're very protective of their territory. They don't like to be awakened, right? If there's something going on and you wake them up, it's sort of like, I was napping, I was slumbering. Why are you here? So one thing that you want to be sort of mindful of is if you get a wake-up call, don't sort of go into attack mode. Sort of say, wow, okay, let's, yes, this was unexpected, but let's see where it leads. So approach it with curious optimism, curious being the key piece. And then the other thing with we got two powerful symbols here with the solar energy showing me power, solar plexus, birthing like the baby, and then this sort of very strong energy of the bear. I mean, you can't go wrong with this. I think the only thing that gets in the way of the sun, which is the development, is this potentially grumpy energy of being surprised, of being territorial, of being overprotective, very much in alignment with the lion that we talked about today. So use your power in a way that the bear looks so cute, you can't get angry at it, but use your power in a way that it really kind of inspires other people. If we go to the positive side, bears can actually be kind of cuddly and nice. They need to know where they're at. They need to know who they're around. So soften this energy just a bit, and people are going to want to hug you rather than run from you. Okay. So it is about finding the proper balance between being outspoken and being a little bit scary. Okay. All right. I think that's going to be key. I may continue to use this just as a non-traditional approach as we look at the elements. But let me see here. I'm going to use the new deck here for the elements, even though they're not traditional tarot cards. I'll do oracle cards this time for the elements. All right, so we're going to move along to elements, and we'll look, and then I'll do a special question for you after that, so you can vote on one thing today. All right, so we're going to look at all the elements here. Let me turn the camera down. I'm going to keep using this oracle deck, and then I'll move and use the regular tarot deck in a little bit here. We're going to start with fire, which is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. I'm going to pull them all out. So Aries, Leo, Sag, and then we'll go to Earth, which is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And now we're going to look at air, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And let's go ahead and look at water, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Okay, so let's look at each and every one of these cards here. So, wow, we have a really cool card here coming through for Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. It says the gate. So for many of you, this is the opening that we were kind of looking at with the Death Mother card that was coming through. So fire signs, you really want to focus on not feeling limited by something, thinking, okay, so I can't do what I want to do here or with these resources. What if I grab these resources? What if I talk to this person? What if I move? What if I just try it on my own? Make an opening. You are the sort of gate maker. So when there's no opening like even if you were trapped in a room, this is sort of like, breaking down a wall. Feels like you're going to have to make your own way. All right. But there is a gate that's also opening. To me, a gate is a portal. And we were looking back here at the Five of Pentacles. You never know until you ask. So for those of you that are getting underappreciated or underpaid, now is the time, especially for Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, to ask for more. Create abundance in your life. A gate. You're either going to walk through a gate, create a gate, or look for another opening, another portal. If something's opening up right now, embrace it. You never know how long that gate is opened as well. So there is a moment of, how would I put this? I think it's timely. You have to really decide, why am I delaying? What am I looking for as validation? This is it. The moment is now. Okay. So I think it's important to act and to create and not to feel trapped, to kind of push through things. Okay. Let's move on to the to the earth sign. So we'll look at Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So we have the fish coming through for you. A beautiful fish here as well. So for many of you, you may feel like you need to kind of swim upstream or go against the flow a little bit. What I see here is it almost looks like a koi fish or a goldfish, but you have what it takes, or a beta, in any one of those. They're all beautiful. But I think you have the power to create your own sort of momentum. Like I was talking about the riding of the bike. Sometimes, depending on where you're swimming, there may be a little bit more of a current, a little bit more of something that you can move with. So try to find a current that meets your trajectory, your sort of energy. You don't have to always go against the current. There might just be a better direction. A lot of redirectional energy coming through for all the signs, but be that as it may, you're going to have the power to do it. To me, the fish is very flexible because it can go kind of like up, down, any direction that it needs to. So this is not about a straight line from point A to point B. This is more about, well, maybe I need to do this and come back a little bit and I'll end up here. So the journey is not straight and narrow for earth signs. You may have a Pisces coming into your life as well. There's a water sign possibly that's going to help you out. And I look at this overall as just being a really great symbol of movement as well. Okay, so everything about this is kind of cool. Catch your breath. When I'm looking at the gills on this, some of you may feel like a fish out of water, or you may feel like you have to sort of like find your sea legs. There's a lot of different phrases that I could get here, but taking a moment to get your bearings and to learn how to adapt to a different habitat or a different energy is going to be important. Remember what I said, it might be shaky the first time, but the second time around, I think you're going to be in a really great sort of space. You're going to surprise yourself. All right. Beautiful card. All right. So we just did fire and earth. Let's move along to air, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. This really is in alignment with what I was even experiencing over dreams last night. We have memory coming through here. So some of you are waxing nostalgic. You're looking at the past. You may be faced with someone or something from the past, thinking, okay, how am I going to resolve this? Why did it come through? How can I do better? All of those things. Also, a reminder, let's not live within memories. We're creating them right here and right now. Make today a memorable day. Take a walk with your dog. Take some time out with your children. Do something for yourself. Read a book, watch a movie. I don't care. Have some fun. Do something amazing. Each and every day you should be creating memories, not living in the sort of wake of the memories. Okay. So what are you doing to create the next big memory? And if you're going to do something, it should be memorable or impactful. We have a beautiful card here as we're looking at water. It's the Knight, and this really cool it is sort of like the god of the night, if you will, because we see the stars here. We see him holding what looks like incense here when I'm looking at this. All right, so to me, nighttime and even like darkness in general can sometimes be misunderstood. If we think back to, I've used this kind of like analogy a couple of times, but the never-ending story. The childlike goddess or the childlike empress at the end, she holds a single grain of sand, which Bastian has to wish upon, and everyth's dark. And there's this little light and this little glow coming from it. And he says, it's so dark. And she said, it's always dark in the beginning. And that was a sort of a statement that stuck with me. A lot of times we can't see what's happening until we sort of shine our light, which we saw with the sun there here, right? So you have to see things through. You have to kind of wish, you have to move forward. You have to trust in the vision before it actually materializes. So for water signs, many of you may feel the passion. You may feel the sort of kind of like kernel of something coming into existence long before it ever does. And you just have to trust and breathe energy into it. It's a good message for all of us, whether we're water or not, or if we have a water placement to especially listen to that. So even though you don't see it, doesn't mean it's not there. Basically, that's faith. You have to trust in what you can't see and move toward that. And it's going to be okay. All right. So a quick summary on this, and then we'll move into a topic that you can vote on. So for Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, it's all about walking through a new opportunity, making that portal, walking through a portal, creating an opening where there is none. So fire, you've got to be sort of like an architect right now. As I looked again at Earth, we're looking at flexibility, movement, paying attention to how much resistance you're getting when we're talking about going upstream, and also realizing that it may take a while to adjust to a new environment. Again, when we're looking at air, to create and be in the moment, not to simply be looking at the past. Not like Janus. We don't want to be looking solely at the past. We also want to be looking at the future. You can combine some of your best memories and best experiences to inform the present. But remember that even memories are a little bit flawed. So there's always the thorn to the rose. So try not to overly romanticize something or overly look at the sour side of things. Okay, this is very much in alignment with what we already talked about. And then, of course, for water, the powerful energy of hope and envisioning what's in the future. So if you have placements in all the elements, you can look at all of these signs with those placements in mind. Okay, so there you go. Okay, let's see if there's an overarching theme here, some things that you can vote on before we get into the main part of the reading, and then I'd like to do that because we have a lot to talk about. All right, so quickly, here's a viewer's poll. I want to look at some of the more powerful, maybe the more tricky things that are coming through for the week ahead, next 7 days. So if you're watching this live, as soon as I type everything here, you'll be able to vote on it. While you vote, I'm going to grab my tea, which I forgot to grab. All right, so viewers' choice. And I think that the ones that are popping out to me, I really want to look at Monday, the energy around the 10 of Swords. So it could either be a difficult conversation or it could just be about knowing when to speak up. And I think that's how I'm going to articulate it. So knowing when / if to speak up. So that'll be option number 1. Option number 2 is about also finding a way to advocate for yourself. So finding, and I'm even going to pull a little bit of what we saw here with fire, but finding and opening up resources. And then for the final one, I really like this one. So even though it was for water, I think it could apply to all of us. So I'd like to take a look at seeing a vision through to fruition. All right, there you go. I'm going to grab a quick glass of chilled tea while we're doing that. You can see Apollo in the background, relaxing and enjoying. So this is your choice. Whatever you vote on, I'll read. And we'll get into the main part of the forecast. Buddy? All right. So it looks like seeing a vision through to fruition is the pretty clear winner here. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and we're going to take a look at that. So great choice, everybody. Thanks for letting me get a little bit of water. I appreciate that. A little bit of tea. All right. So we'll go back to the Afro Goddess deck for this one, just to kind of get a traditional tarot card read on this. So let's see if there is one message for seeing a vision through to fruition. We have choices coming through here. So the Six of Pentacles is a fantastic reminder that you have more than you realize, but there's often discernment that's necessary. We see a lot of people ready to grab at your time and energy. And there may also be a misallocation. I'm glad I did a card for this because this one's a really specific and an appropriate card for this. There could be someone that is putting too much energy into something that doesn't make sense. Part of what you might be able to open up, it may take facts and figures like data. So you could go in and say, well, I ran the numbers and the data show that if we were to do this, then there would be no loss here. We would have extra here. You might have to actually go and crunch some numbers in Excel. You may have to also look around and say, you're not using this and you haven't for a while. Can I use that resource? It's about finding something that's been spent the wrong way or has been kind of hoarded up and needs to be reallocated. In your own life, you could also be looking at ways to maybe liquidate something rather. There might be something that you're not using. You could sell it. You could, maybe there's a trade or a barter that could happen. There's something that exists. And if it's just about smarter choices with what you have, you'll have more than you think. So that's part one of this. And then the other thing here is I'm going to pull a single oracle card on this one too, and just take a look at it. So let's see. So for just seeing it through to fruition, which is a bigger thing, saying yes and no is part of that, but just for that portion of it. So we have the sea turtle on this one. So with the turtle, it's not about how fast you get there. It's just basically about making sure that you keep moving and keep getting there. The sea turtle actually swims pretty fast in the water, but is slow on land. So we get a lot of these sort of territorial energies, if you will. It sort of depends on, if you're new at something, you can't expect yourself to be an expert at it. And you may be in a zone of discomfort or a lack of experience. So in those situations, you just want to reach out and ask for help or expertise, which is something we've been talking about. Okay, so that is the 7-day forecast, blessings and blocks, and your choice. Now we're going to get into the fun part, looking at the lion, looking at finding the courage to do what you need to do. So let me just stack up all of these cards, and we're going to use the new deck, which I'll need to shuffle a bit while we do that, and we'll take it from there. Everything that I'll be looking at with respect to the next part of this reading is really going to be focusing on the main topic. So I'll try to look at where courage exists, where you could maybe find something like we were looking at with those 6 of Pentacles that you have, but maybe you didn't realize, or you thought that you lost it. So again, brand new deck. It's already on my website. I did update my deck portion of my website, so all of these are there. I know it's been a while, and I've been using a new deck or two recently, so they should all be there. Love the iridescence on these now. So give me a moment. I'm going to shuffle this a little bit more than usual since it's brand new. While I'm doing this, just a reminder that everything you see here is for all of you that are present, whether you're watching it live or on replay. This is really what the meaning collective is. Everybody gets a chance to enjoy it. All right, since it's new, I'm also going to do this just to make sure. I don't normally kind of like go overboard this much, but I'm going to kind of like twist and turn this a bit to make sure that we're getting some reversals in there in the appropriate way. We'll do one more shuffle and we'll get started. Okay, let's take a look and see what's coming through. Okay, this one actually, we have a couple here, but they volunteered, so we're going to keep these two together, stuck together. Ten of Swords making another appearance. Interesting. Okay, so it's almost as if we have 2 clarifying cards that popped up. So we'll see how that factors out. So many cards today that kind of stuck together. So I'll do my best to move through them. There's a lot of energy that needs to be dealt with. All right, we're going to start with your main catalyst cards. You got 2 today. So this one is, I believe it's a Greek word that has to do with the appropriate timing, the cosmic timing. So one thing that we get validation right off the bat is that the timing is now. Kairos, I think it is. So basically, you could look all that you want, but you really just need to look within here, because we see this big eye at the center, almost like a dragon's eye, or like a hawk eye or something. So I think for many of you, look no further than where you're at or what's going on for the validation that you're exactly where you need to be right now. Okay. So this is sort of like a call to action when I look at this. And then we have the River card coming through here, which kind of beautiful here. If you've ever looked out and you've walked on a sidewalk in a city and you see all the city lights and all the reflections, kind of reminds me of this, or the sun rising or setting, you get the ripples in the water. So for many of you, much like the Knight card that we were looking at earlier, you don't always see what's coming forth until it kind of fully comes into kind of like focus. So for this, the movement of the water, like if there's raindrops or the waves are kind of moving, it obscures the true vision. So it's hard to see what's going on while you're moving. So this is about taking advantage of this moment, but also taking a moment or two to pause and really get a clear focus on what you're trying to do, what's going on around you, and actually how far you've come. All right. So this will give you courage because you'll feel like, well, I don't have to keep waiting. I'm ready to do this. And maybe I've actually come further than I think if I give myself a moment to look at it. Because we see almost a knight or, like a horse. I'm assuming it's like a knight card coming through there. So I feel like things will start to happen pretty quickly, right? Let's go to your center card. We have the Knight of Pentacles, speaking of knights. And with this one, this is also reminding you right now that for many of you, we're looking at maybe like experience and asking like, do I have enough experience? Do I have what's necessary to make this happen? And this card is an affirmation on that. It's saying you could go and get some additional training if you want to, but your life experiences and everything that you kind of need is within. This is about managing resources, though. So for many of you, you are going to be asked to take charge, to advocate for, to ask for more of the resources in your life. So definitely taking a really, really sort of active, strong, and vocal role is going to be important, okay? When I look at the shield, it almost reminded me of a book for a second again. So I do feel like leaning into facts and figures is going to be important. We do see in front of this person what looks like a newly sowed field. So like at the very beginning of the spring when it's all kind of like just brown, or at the very end of the season. So we're looking at maybe everything that you have may not be in front of you. It's either the promise of something new or you've reaped the rewards of something and now you have to start again. So seeing past the present and looking at how you can create something more, right? We now have the Four of Pentacles on top of this. Another card of holding on to something longer than you need to. Oftentimes, I don't necessarily read the 4 or the 2 or the 5 as necessary resources, especially when we got a really positive one in the middle. What I see this as is I'm afraid to let go. I'm afraid to move on. I'm afraid what people will think of me if I do this. Will it be safe? Is it safe? So you want to move beyond those questions of fear, because fear is what holds back the courage in your life. So this Knight is going to say, I'm going to move forward. Even if I don't see it, I trust it. It's grown before, it's happened before, I can make it happen again. I'm going to let this go because I'm at a point right now where I trust that I can create again. We have Agape, which is a bonus card here in the deep past. And this is about love, basically. We've talked before about loving who you are, loving who you're with, loving what you're doing. And you don't have to do this alone. It really looks a lot like the Wheel of Fortune. And I would say for many of you, you're not alone in your vision, or this is like if there's something that you really want to do and you're not getting the support right now, this Agape card shows me that there is a community out there that will support you. There is an audience for what it is that you want to do. So reach out. This is also the antithesis and the sort of cure to the lion pride card that we were, or not the card, but the message that I was talking about. Not to be too territorial, not to be too protective. Open up a little bit, open up your heart, connect with that community, and it's going to be there for you, okay? So we see that. We see other people valuing what you want or valuing what you value and wanting to sort of be there for you. And there is no right or wrong side with this particular card. So even though it's upside down, it's not really, because this card, it has no reversals. Do you notice that? So she designed it in such a way, or he designed it in such a way, I think Matt was the name of the designer, that it's always upright. So you're right on path. You just need to ask for some help or reach out. You've got a community, you've got some assistance there. Find your 10 of Pentacles, find your 6 of Cups, find your 2 of Cups. It doesn't matter how big it is, but there are resources out there, all right? A bunch of cards that stuck together in rapid succession. So these are all going to be related. I'm going to read 2 at a time, but honestly, when we're looking at the past in your headspace, they're all here. So the ones that wanted to sit in the past are these. The first one is the 7 of Cups. So this is the changing room that I was talking about. So instead of exploring these different cups in the air, you're trying different personas on. We're seeing it as the mask here. So let's try this one on. Let's try this one on. Could I do this? Could I do this? We all do this as a child. We're born into this lifetime and we forget ourselves so that we can rediscover ourselves. I need to put that on Twitter or something. It's a good little kernel of knowledge. We forget ourselves so we can discover ourselves. That's really powerful. And in order to do that, I really like that this death card that this Wheel of Fortune card looks like death, because in order to make a change happen, there often has to be some sort of a sacrifice, right? So are you willing to make the change or sacrifice that piece of yourself so that you can explore something new? I'm writing this down. I like this. And it's a nice little summary here. We forget to discover, because that's so powerful. And that's really why we do have the amnesia on some levels. Also, because if you were to come into this lifetime with all of the good and bad from the past, you could never look at someone in a different light. And a lot of times, karmically, we come into this lifetime so that we can overcome the sort of energy of disappointment, the power struggles that we had, all that stuff, all that all that karma and drama, put it together and it sounds like that. And it is like a comma, it's more of a pause. So you have to just kind of pause and think what's going on right now. So 7 of Cups, you get permission and encouragement and actually like a push from the universe to try on a new persona. And that actually could allow you to step into a powerful new path, right? Okay. Next piece. Again, these are very closely related because they were all sticking and I just tried to pull them however they wanted to land. So we have Judgment reversed. This is the only thing that's holding you back right now is, I don't know if I deserve this. I don't know if others will see me this way. I don't know if I see me in this way. So if you can see yourself in a new light, others will do the same. This is all about rising from the ashes of disappointment, frustration, sometimes even like success. Sometimes you think, is this as good as it gets? Did I just do everything that I could do? Should I stop while I'm ahead? This card is saying whatever you decide is what you create. Okay. So what do you want? What are you deciding? What do you want to create? Because it was appropriate that the High Priestess wanted to attach to that. Your judgment is your creation. I feel like I'm just putting out a bunch of memes right now. I'm going to write them down, but it's important. Your judgment is your creation. So I'm going to write that down too as a takeaway for today, because if you can't see it, others won't either. So judgment equals creation, which is pretty powerful. So we'll look at these a little bit later as we get into more of the cards. Guess what? In your headspace, these two are very great for manifestation. So we just want to turn this upright. I'm ready to do this. I can see this. And now I can actually see how to do it because I can see it, right? And yes, death of the ego is a great thing that we're seeing here. If you look closely at it, they're actually holding their past self there, as symbolized by the death card or the skull. We got the Death Mother card earlier. So there's a lot of death and transformation. That's a big part of this. That is also for all of us here in the Northern Hemisphere, winter is taking place. So we see a symbolic death around us, but we know it's a hibernation of a lot of the trees and things like that. They will come back again. Okay. Let's look at what's coming through here. All right. So in the near future, you have the 7 of Wands. The 7 of Wands has a lot of different connotations when we're looking at courage. Sometimes we feel like we have to defend ourselves. I would say for those of you that are trying something new, and notice how these are faceless cards. These two are both faceless, right? The Wheel of Fortune and the 7 of Cups. When you are actually going through that, and this is also kind of like a faceless card, they're just spirits going up into energy. So if you are in this sort of metamorphosis, chrysalis, cocoon kind of like stage right now, protect yourself and allow for experimentation, exploration, discovery, and development. People may come in to try to stop that metamorphosis or to question the validity of it, and all you need to do is hold your ground. You don't have to argue with them. We want to avoid the 10 of Swords, right? You want to instead just sort of say, no, I'm good. Yes, this is what I'm trying to do. I know what I am and what I'm trying to accomplish right now. You don't have to for some of you, there may be too much of a guard up too. There might be somebody that asks for information. They just want to support you. They just want some insight. So this is about knowing when and if to kind of put up the gates around you. Because we saw in the Five of Pentacles that there was that gate that needs to be opened a little bit. So I think for some of you, if you open up and talk to someone that you trust, you could actually have support here. The extra wand that would come in would bring you to the Eight of Wands, which is a community card, which is action and progress and momentum. So one more in this equation could actually help you quite a bit, because there's not a lot of partnership cards in this spread. A lot of this is going at it solo, and a lot of it is holding on and changing and trying new things on while you're changing. So there's a lot of internal movement happening. All right. Love what we see here when I'm looking at how your soul looks. We have the Queen of Cups. So I do feel like for you, the single most important thing you could do to find the courage to make a necessary change is to listen to your heart and to do what makes your heart happy, and to do something that allows you to be creative and to be expressive and to not limit yourself. This is a giant magnet when you have the Queen or the King of Cups, because people are drawn to that sense of power and joy and sense of self. Okay, so your heart is the most important thing, even though, you know, what was it? The Tin Man in the Wizard of Oz that didn't have the heart. The lion needs a strong heart too, lion heart, right? So you need to focus on that. I would say for you to be the true strong lion or lioness, you need to really find your heart, protect your heart, and trust it. Whether that means doing what you love, being with who you love, doing something that brings passion in your life. This is probably the most important piece. What's going on around you? What we talked about in the channeled messages. Could be a mom or dad or boss. I don't really read gender in cards, but the Strength card to me is someone who, hello, there's the lion. It's someone who is trying to question your strength, question your power, question your authority. Sometimes they can even be, whether they mean to or not, almost like gaslighting you, making you wonder if what you said happened and if you can do this. So mostly though, the Strength card can be someone who knows exactly how to get what they want and wants to keep you in a position of needing them, right? It's not quite the devil, but it's kind of in the same energy when it's reversed. It's sort of like, I'm keeping you, I'm controlling you, I'm sort of like managing all of this. So you're finding that you don't need or want to do that anymore. You're not going to be the sort of Strength card reversed. You're strong. What I like about this, when we look at the upright position, this is how it should be. They are partners. They are not partners in crime or partners in something positive. Whenever I see like the female energy opening up the male energy there, I'm just sort of like, it doesn't make sense. So the more elevated decks that I have usually show a blending, like Light Seers shows half lion, half lioness, or half woman, half lion. Other decks will just show what we see here. I think in the Afro Goddess, we see the lion looking at the woman. And in this one, we see them on the throne together, right? So for you, it's not about competition. It's not about who's more powerful. It's not about gender roles or age roles or whatever. It's just really about owning your own power. And if somebody can't sit there in an equal energy as you, then they're not your partner. They're not truly your advocate. It's conditional love. So the positive aspect of the Strength card, if we take away all the stuff about, putting your hand in someone's mouth or whatever it is, that even when faced with a difficult task or opponent or challenge, you have exactly what it takes. You're just as powerful as this. You are this. But like, if you feel like you're this person facing this, the truth is you're both. So you're going to find the middle ground and you're going to be able to just find your power. Okay. So don't let someone around you manipulate, try to kind of like take away power. Don't be the one that oversees someone else and does that either. Again, nice alignment with what we talked about before. You may need to get yourself out of a difficult situation where your partner, your parent, someone that you're working with, someone that you're friends with, won't let you grow. So if that's the case, then you need your space. All right. We have a reversal of the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords has made a couple of, at least one appearance today. And so I would say for many of you, this is avoiding the need to say it just to say it when I look at this card. So sometimes, have you ever been in an argument where it just starts coming out of your mouth, or a discussion where you're like, here we go. And you can't help it, but you kind of can help it. If you get into that point where you think I should stop. Because at the end of the day, that's also a person there. And we always want to remember like how it would feel to be on the other side of this. I think sometimes if we can just keep it constructive, it's okay to shake the tree a little bit. It's okay to say something that you need to. Let's keep it to the King or the Queen of Swords reverse, though. So saying, this is unacceptable, inexcusable, maybe it's even outright illegal or wrong, and I need you to change. You can say it. It's harsh, but it's true. But when you start to attack their character, sometimes that's where it goes into the iffy territory. If you just say, I hate you, you're a terrible person. Like sometimes people are not acting in their best light. Maybe they need to hear that you're not doing the right thing. That's okay. And it upsets me. I think a good way that you can kind of reframe things is, when you do this, it makes me think this about you. It makes me feel this. It hurts me. And what I often do is try to turn it around. I'll say, how would you feel? Would you do this to yourself? If so, why are you doing it to me? Then you can say what you're doing is wrong, and it's even bad on some levels, because you wouldn't want to be treated that way. So reframe it and help them see it. A lot of times they have to think, oh yeah, if it was your mom, if it was you, if it was your child, whatever it is, help them contextualize it so they understand why you're taking offense to it, rather than just sort of going in on all on all fours, because I'm thinking of the lion. We do see a healing energy coming through. So for some of you, it's just done. This is still the straw that's sort of like breaking the back, right? So I think that some of you are just ready to move on, and you're choosing happiness, and that's a good thing. And we're going to really focus on that piece. If you have any questions, just hold it until the end. I always do a final question when I do the meditation. So hold the questions until then. All right. So the final card here is the Nine of Pentacles, the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. So some of you are actually going to second guess yourself as you get into a new successful trajectory. I really like where we're at, but there could be this sort of sense of, is this too good? Is there a shoe that's going to fall somehow here, and is something going to happen? The answer is no. You've worked really strong to build up this moment. You're working towards this independence, self-sufficiency, etc. So I want you to trust that as good things start to happen in your life, you've earned them, you've worked for that, and to keep doing what you're doing. It's more of a validation from spirit. The other thing that can happen with the Nine of Pentacles reversed is that, as I said earlier, with the pride element, we're afraid to ask. I'm afraid to ask for help. I'm afraid to ask if this is right. I'm afraid. So don't be too proud or too afraid to speak up. Also, this card can be a little bit resistant to receiving assistance. So as I was looking at with the Seven of Wands, I think you could be more powerful with someone, with some help, with some resources. So open up to that. And it looks like you're in a good trajectory. Let's go ahead and look a little bit deeper here into health, wealth, love, and destiny. Then we'll pull a big idea, and I'll give you sort of like a final statement to answer the original question, which is, how can you find the courage and all of that? I think we're working on it piece by piece here. But looking at the health part of the equation, this is so important. It says clear, cancel, and release. So clear your mind, cancel out things that you don't need anymore, old debts, cancel out contracts that aren't working anymore, release the contracts, release the people, let go of things. It's actually in perfect harmony with what we see here with the Four of Pentacles card. So this Four of Pentacles is coming through, and it's saying, I'm not afraid to let go of something. I'm going to be okay. So you indeed will be okay. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about with this. Notice how she, normally she would be sort of like, she's not going to be put in the middle here. So she's channeling, and she's also blocking the stuff that she doesn't need. It looks like maybe there's one ribbon of energy behind her, but the stuff that's getting in the way, we are like satellites. You can change the direction. You don't have to keep picking up on negativity. If someone just keeps throwing a lot of stuff at you, you can say, okay, we're done now. And that's what this is really about. So deciding what to tune into and what you don't need to tune into anymore. Very powerful. When it comes to overall health messages for you, I think this one's amazing. There's no wrong direction. There's no wrong path. You're on the right. You're headed in the right direction, basically. So all you need to do is reach out a little bit and get out of your maybe sort of like your silo that you might be in. Okay. So there's power in support in the community. Other health messages, it has more to do with disbelief here when we're looking at this. So believing in yourself will allow for any change in your mind, body, or spirit to happen. Some of you are burned out. So here's my main message with health for courage to move on. If you're burned out, if you feel like you can't do it, this is coming through to say, yes, you can. And in fact, you probably need to in order to sustain for the future. This card is sustainability. This one is being at the wit's end. So for some of you, you have to make a change in order to be healthy. So to get the courage to do so, it's just about longevity and taking care of yourself in the long run. Okay. So make the change necessary, push back on what you don't need. You don't have to be put in the middle of all of this. Looking at the wealth card here, we have amble with contentment. It says whether waiting rather than acting is going to be the most advantageous. So for some of you, you've planted the seed and there might be a little bit of patience that's necessary. And that's what this card is saying. So that's fine. I also believe that in an active 3 of wands, for instance, so we see the 3 seahorses here, kind of reminds me of that. I would say if you want something to happen, you can still meet someone halfway. This is about not trying to get in someone's business so much. So if you've, for instance, had an interview and sent a resume, you don't want to check up with the person 37 times in 1 week. That could be too much. Once or twice is good, just enough to know that you care. I think that this is about knowing how to pull back. The strength card can actually be overbearing. So say a little less, do just a little bit less. It's like dressing. You can take one thing off and you're usually fine. You know, an accessory or something. You need to wear shirt and pants. But when we're talking about watches and jewelry and accessories, if you overdo it, all people see is the bling. They don't see you. So take a few things off, wait a little bit. When you're sending a letter, take a little bit out, just get to the point. I think this is going to be key. Less is more is what we see. A little bit of waiting doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Temperance, patience. Okay. And this is also what we talked about when it comes to communication, not to overdo it. If you're going to, for those of you that are being interviewed or even asked about a past experience, try not to speak negatively about an old place that you worked at. So this is specifically for those of you that are looking for jobs, but it's also for those of you that might be dating someone and they're asking about your past relationships. So if your past relationship or your past job was a nightmare, if the person was really negative, you could just say, I think I learned a lot. I really learned what I didn't want from that experience, but I also learned how to be strong. And sometimes the best example of what to do is what not to do. So that's what I took away from that experience was what I wanted and what I really was looking for in leadership. And then you could turn it around. And I would say, based on what I've heard and seen, you are the antithesis of that. And I find it really inspiring the way you do this. And this just changed the energy. But if you can just not negatively speak at all, it's better because it's not professional. It's only if there's a reason to go there. And if you can do it quickly, get in and out and just say, I was ready for a change. It wasn't sustainable. There was no work-life balance. So you can do something like that instead. You could even just say there was just, there was a lot of challenges with management and I really was looking for something where there was more growth potential. You just don't want to say, I had a boss from hell or something like that. That doesn't sound good. Doesn't even sound good when I say it. So you don't want to say that. Just say instead, it was really challenging. and maybe talk about but say, here's some benefits of what I experienced. And more to the point, here's why I'm here. I'd like to talk more about you, about this, but I'm happy to talk about this if you have some questions, but that is the past. So there's usually ways that you can reframe it. If you're gossiping or again, talking to someone, you never know if that person might know who you're talking about as well. So this is another reason not to say it. So that's the little piece that's coming in for networking and just general relationships and professional acumen. Finally, you can create something even if it doesn't exist. What I'm doing right now didn't even exist when I was a kid. YouTube wasn't around. And this job that I'm doing right now, I just had to kind of like imagine it and then do it. So you can do the same. It takes time, 7 years, but you can do something over time. So give yourself time to develop, all right? And then put the work in. But this is the most important thing. If you don't give yourself that time in the changing room with your personas, then this may not happen the way that, and the speed that it normally could. So it's good to explore. It's good to mess up sometimes too, but you'll be all right. All right, let's specifically look at relationships now and see how this has to do with your courage. So hopefully that gives you the courage to make the changes here as we look at this. And finally, just like I said, with burning out, if you're burned out, it's time. All right, looking at relationships here, we have the koala spirit, which is not a very active kind of animal. I love the koala, but I've done research as a totem before. They get a little bit drunk on eucalyptus, I think, or whatever it is that they eat. And they just, they're slower energy. They are highly evolved because they don't need to move. Part of what they did was they basically slowed their metabolism so they could stay in the trees to avoid the predators that are on the land. So the longer they can stay up there, the less likely they are to get attacked by some other predators. So that's genius, but they're very slow. That much I do remember. So with the card reverse, it says spirit has a plan. Again, there's this sort of patience, this dance of patience that's going on right now for some of you. If you're with someone who's acting too slowly or who doesn't see your plan or doesn't act on your plan, I would say the koala energy is not going to be what you need to get it to the next level. So part of the plan could be to find a better connection. So the partnership isn't always love when we're looking at this sort of general reading here, which by the way is kind of timeless. When I do these topical ones, it can be timeless whenever you need it. But what I would say here is your current connection could be slow and not as proactive as they need to be. Let's kind of take a look at this in some different perspectives. I'm going to look at it in a little bit different than I normally do. Relationships, professional, and then if you're sort of like out there, either single and happy or as an entrepreneur, how that would work. So if we look at relationship energy and how and where you might be trying to find courage, whether you're in it or looking for one, it's going to be a little bit of the same here. The most important thing for you right now is sense of self-confidence, not judging something until it's had a chance to develop. So this is exploring. This is valuing what you're exploring. This is deciding that it's worth it. And this is deciding to do it. Sometimes when people come into the mix, they mean well, moms and dads and partners, but a lot of times they can say, how are we going to do this? How are we going to pay the bills? Or how are you going to make a living at this? Just make sure you can do this. All of a sudden they start to like smudge and sort of snuff out the flame before it gets a chance to burn. So give your inner flame a chance to burn before other people stomp on the fire. Defend what's important here. I think the importance for you right now is just to be in that place of love and acceptance. Find other people who can accept and love that. Don't take personally what someone else, a naysayer, has. There's only really one negative card here, and it's the 10 of Swords, and it's just in hopes and possibilities. So don't let someone take away your hope. Stand up for it. Don't let someone try to take it away from you either. I see a lot of value in this path. So I think the important thing for you is to imagine, believe, develop, defend, deflect as needed. This is very much in alignment with the channel. This could easily be the 7 of Wands, channel, cancel, and release. And if you do that, you'll be okay. You're going to be able to overcome this. I will say this for you. If there is a partnership, it has to be like the upright version of this, which is you both are bringing something to the equation and you're not competing, you're complementing. And you're not competing or completing, you're complementing. So that old phrase in Jerry Maguire, I complete you, is very wrong. You should be complementing one another, not completing or competing. Okay. So let me see what else we can look at here. I think those are the key things. So now if we're looking at those of you that are wondering what you can do with professional relationships, a lot of this holds true. I think for some of you, you have to decide, is it the right time to show this part of myself, or do I need to hold back just a little bit? This is more of a intellectual property thing when it comes to business. So there may be times where you give just enough and you wait for them to sign an NDA, or you wait for buy-in and then you can give a little bit more. So don't give away too much because you have a lot to offer. So there is a time and a place for like holding back. And I think in business, you want to make sure that you have the guarantees before you do that. I talked about the professional aspect that's going to be important. You might just have to remove yourself from something or someone. I see really positive energy coming through with money overall. And I didn't mention that when I was looking at wealth, but it's looking like you're in a good position as long as you continue to connect to what you're passionate about and really kind of feed that. And again, we have the Knight of Pentacles at the center. So this is just deciding when and if to share energy with others. For those of you that are single and happy right now, I think it's a good time to be so. And I think that if you're working on how to find confidence to get out there or to do something, there's a couple notes here. I feel like some of you might be, again, working too hard. Some of you have done something that actually deserves attention. So try not to feel like you have to over-explain or over-defend it. Just be yourself and exist in that energy, and that's going to be really important. Okay? So overall, I feel pretty good about that. I think for some of you, there's just a fear of failure. If we were to kind of pick an overarching thing, we're going to look at destiny in a second. But this can just be, what if everyone says they hate this? What if I don't get the support that I need? What if this all goes wrong? That's just a fear. The reality of it was the Nine of Pentacles. Okay? So I feel pretty optimistic overall with what you're doing and where you're headed. Final card, destiny. We have the stingray. So I love that we see all the different chakra colors on this particular card. It's in reverse. We want to be careful of that stingray. These are, generally speaking, not going to hurt you, but if you get in the way of this could be kind of crazy. So I think for many of you, we want to make sure that we don't, what's the best word here when you I don't want you to destroy something before it starts. And I think the stingray is very much attached to the Ten of Swords. So this is making sure, again, that you don't say something, speak something in or out of existence, that you don't burn a bridge before the time is right. And also that you don't sabotage. That's it, self-sabotage. So just allow yourself to be free. And this is our defense mechanism that's kicking in. Let's only use it when and if it's absolutely necessary. You are majestic, you are strong. You don't have to always go there. That's a last-ditch effort. So I think the main thing here is to avoid self-sabotage, to avoid arguing, to avoid having to explain yourself. Instead, to say, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm ready, I'm moving. We've got a lot of fish today coming through, showing that movement. One thing that's really cool with some of our symbols today is a breaking down of gender roles, because seahorses, basically the male seahorses carry the eggs. I do remember that for the research. So, and then when I was looking at the lions, the men also protected the pride, the pack, basically. So we could see that you are entering into a sort of non-traditional role. So you may have, if you identify as male, there may be a more nurturing role that you want to step into. In any step of life, it doesn't matter. And the reverse might be true for those that identify as female, where you just want to be more kind of like, having a little bit more presence, and it doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do with that. Honestly, I feel like they're crayons. Why do we have to do one or the other? Why can't we be in the changing room and each day decide, today I'm going to be a little bit more assertive. Today I'm going to be a little bit more nurturing. Today I'm going to be nurturing and assertive. Good for you. We're seeing blending and blurring. So don't limit yourself by expectations on age or gender, etc. Easier said than done for those of you that might be in a very traditional family or culture, but we did get a lot of movement cards too. So finding people out there, whether it's in your own place that you're living or in another part of the world, there's others that agree with you. That's how change starts. We have to begin with the kernel of an idea that I can do this, right? All right, so let's go ahead now and look at a big overarching idea here. What's the big idea? What's the answer to the original question? How can you find the courage in a single card? No pressure cards, but let's see. So choices. The Two of Pentacles is a very interesting card to come through for that. I don't read it as a resource card. I read it as what matters most right now and what's out of balance. So for many of you, you know what you want to focus on. You know that you've maybe put too much energy into one thing and you want to focus on another. You have to have a choice. You have to be discerning. Notice how this particular Two of Pentacles, you can see them sitting on the infinity symbol, and then it creates waves. So this choice that you make is going to create a new cycle and a new sort of like, it's almost like an echo in your life. Everything's going to feel that. So you have to choose one, but when you take one away, you have an ace. So really, it's what's your ace right now? What do you want to focus on? This other thing you can either delegate or delay, but focusing on one will give you an ace, will give you growth, will help you out. And letting go of another doesn't mean that you don't have it. It just means that I'm going to be able to develop something further. You've spread yourself, some of you, too thin, and this is going to give you what you need now to make that appropriate change. I think the other bigger idea too is believing is creating, and you have to sort of like be able to believe in it to create it. And then also, if you don't try yourself, try different parts of your life out, like try different outfits, try different personas on, you're never going to be able to figure out what's possible. So dreaming and exploring and nurturing something, and then letting people see it when you believe it. So, whenever we want to announce, come out, even try to have an argument with someone where you are trying to persuade them, a persuasive argument. If you don't believe in your point of view, it's not impossible, but it's much harder to accomplish the goal at hand. So believe in yourself, get the data, get all of it together, and then share it with the other person and say, and this is why I believe in it, and this is how it's going to work. And pretty soon they're like, okay, you've got this. I feel good about this. All right, good. All right, so let's go ahead now and let's get ready for the meditation. So what I'd like to look at next is, just a second here. Okay. Thank you, Maria, for your help today. By the way, Maria does a great job with moderating all the time. I appreciate that. All right, we're going to get ready for the meditation today. And I think as I'm looking at all these different cards here, let's see. I really liked what I saw here over in the Oracle cards. I like the Knight card. I like this ability to kind of step into something that's unknown. I also liked the gate. So maybe we're going to make like a portal in a sort of nighttime image here. So we'll do that in just a second. So quick heads up. If you have a question that I haven't answered, write it down. In about 2 minutes time, I will go ahead and answer that question. In the meantime, let's get set up for a meditation. Before I meditate, please, if you're brand new, if you liked what you saw here, like and subscribe so you don't miss future readings. Hit the notification bell as well. And for those of you that don't always get notifications, then you can join me on social media, and I've pinned the link up above. Okay. And thank you to everybody that's given back right now. I see someone just did that as well. I will say thank you at the very end, and I might bring Apollo up at the very end. He's napping and enjoying it. If you happen to watch on replay, you can also do thanks. Okay, let's meditate. While I'm getting the meditation sort of set up, I'll give you a choice if you want me to use the crystal pyramid, or if you'd like me to use the singing bowl. Time if you'd like to, otherwise you can just enjoy and let the other people vote. So once you've voted, I want you to close your eyes. Let's take a moment to tune into our bodies before we set up the scene for the meditation. So as you close your eyes, give yourself a moment to fully sort of let go. Imagining maybe that you're laying down on a hammock between two trees, maybe two palm trees on the beach. So you see the stars above you, you see the stars reflected in the water. And you're going to take a moment just to feel supported by the trees and by the fabric that's holding you up between the trees. So as you sit there, kind of like a babe being held by its mother, I want you to release all of the energy that you're holding on in your neck, your shoulders, especially the upper shoulders or upper back where we hold a lot of tension. You can give yourself a little bit of a gentle massage as you're doing this if you'd like to. Take a nice deep breath and inhale. On the exhale, release every single muscle in your body, letting go of the tension that you've been holding on to from any excitement, concerns, fear, doubt, uncertainty, etc. Taking special care to also let go of the smaller muscles in the face, around the eyes, in the scalp, in the lower back, around the stomach, everything, even our fingertips and our toes. Just let go of all of that tension and just release. Imagining now that you are completely free of any sort of pre-existing thoughts or tension. Just focusing now on the cadence of your own breathing. Letting go. Maybe even allowing yourself to rock a little bit in this hammock as you're doing that. Looking up at the stars above you, you see these beautiful tiny points of light piercing the darkness, creating patterns that have given us the reason and cause to create myths and imagine potential stories. We even today kind of use them to chart what's going on in our lives. But out there, what you really see is hope. Hope that what you do has the capacity to last, to stand the test of time. And everything on this planet is constituted from stardust. We were all one of those stars shining in the sky at one point. Now we are in this sort of denser material, walking, talking, moving, creating things in our lives. But you still have the potential to connect with the creative force of the star. So imagining that you have a single speck of stardust in your hand that you could make a wish on, just like that movie that I was talking about. Maybe you even have a few specks of it in your hand if you would like. What would your wish or wishes be? What direction do you see yourself headed in? Imagine now that you could step toward that. As you start to make the wish, you could take this little grain of sand and you could use it to carve an opening in the night around you, in the sky above you or right in front of you. And as you do that, it carves something out, and it's almost like you could poke it down, it falls, and there's a portal there in front of you. It's a beautiful, welcoming light. I see beautiful purplish energy around it, highly spiritual, highly welcoming. Allow yourself now to step into this energy, which can be for you a cocoon, a metamorphosis. It could be stepping into a different you, imagining that you're in the changing room, whatever it is. I want you to see that you are one step closer to the journey. As you do this, I'm going to play the singing bowl and allow you now to just let go a little bit and imagine. Some of you may just need to believe, I am, I can, I will. So that could be your mantra as I play the singing bowl. I am capable of this. I am creating this. I can do this. I will do this. I am doing this. So allow yourself to step into the creative flow of Judgment and the High Priestess, believing, seeing, and then after we finish today's reading, doing. I want you to take that grain of sand or that stardust, place it between your hands and start to imagine now that it's becoming a ball of energy or a ball of light. You can place that now in your heart center, sparking your own passion, sparking your own light, knowing that each and every day and each and every step that you take after this reading, you're going to be calling in what you see. So make sure that you're seeing the positive, the possibilities. Manifest in a affirmative, positive sort of light. All right. When you're ready, you can gently open your eyes if you haven't already and think about what your final question is. And let's take a look and see what the cards have to say. So we have the 10 of Wands, which would be an affirmative card. This would be a yes if you're looking for a yes, no. But there's nuances to each card and each yes, no. The nuances on this would be as follows. I would say, first of all, it is necessary for you to not just be stationary. This is difficult in COVID pandemic times, but the 10 of Wands can be a telepresence. It can also be reaching beyond borders and kind of having a more global, but it's in a smaller sort of global energy than maybe like the World card, but one step at a time. I feel like this is getting out of your comfort zone, putting an idea out to the larger group, and maybe even doing something where it's almost like a road show, but for some of you, you have to kind of share some ideas with some different people to get some some feedback on that. This is definitely a card of physical movement or travel. It can be permanent or it can be cyclical. It depends because I'm just looking at one card. But I would say movement is key. Getting the idea from here to another place is key. One thing that you want to try not to do during this period is to take on more than needed. The 10 of Wands can often be a burdened card where there's too much. So ask for help if you need it. Don't give up. If you are looking at just another couple of months or whatever, you're trying to finish something up, this is about finishing what you've started. Okay, never giving up, persisting, and looking at how far you've come, not that there's just a little bit left to go and you're tired, okay? So push through, persevere, move on, kind of like shop some of the ideas and the energy beyond the borders. All of these things are a part of this. So ultimately it's a yes, and the 10 is the end of a phase of a journey. So we're seeing moving up after this, okay? So really nice kind of final card to end with. So I hope you enjoyed today's reading and the format and kind of getting straight into the reading. It's still the same amount of time. It just gave me more time to talk to you. So if you would, again, like to connect with me on social media, the links are up above. One more time, I'll place them here. Just a reminder, I don't do private readings. So if anyone tries to impersonate me and offers you anything online, it's not me. The only way to interact with me is live here on YouTube or on Instagram if I do a live. That way you know it's me and I'm talking. And also look for the check marks. I have a check mark here on YouTube. I have one on Facebook. I'm trying to get it on some of the other social media networks, but you can go to my website if you have any doubt who the real Nicholas Ashbaugh is. And again, before you leave, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. I'm going to take a few moments here to say thank you. So let me just get all these papers arranged properly. And again, thanks to everybody that did give back or did become a member. I saw we got some new members. And anybody afterwards that does a super thanks, I'll make sure to heart it. By the way, I do have a book available. You can check out information on my website if you're interested. Let's go ahead now and say thanks. This is my favorite part. For everybody that was able to give back, I'll continue to buy some new decks like I did today. I was really pleased with it, and it was worth the wait. Great suggestion. So give me a moment here just to go to a different tab, and I'm going to check in. And I definitely want to say welcome to the new members. So we'll start with the members first. Just a moment here. And by the way, as I'm getting this set up, here is I'll be live again tomorrow for Pisces. I'll be announcing my new dates probably tomorrow or Tuesday as well. So keep an eye out for that. I've already put them together. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And now let me say welcome to the new folks. So let's begin with those that are new. I'd like to welcome Liz Morrison. Thank you. Welcome. And Yvette, welcome back. You just rejoined. Good to have you back. Julia Kimmel, welcome. Regina Aras, welcome. It looks like welcome back, and you upgraded too. So thank you for becoming a Cosmic Channel member. That's amazing, actually. I much appreciated. I have given new membership levels. So if you want to give a little bit more, you can. Patty Husted, thank you so much. Welcome back. You just rejoined after 11 months. And I think that's everybody for today. Let me see. I think everyone else, it was a little bit about a day ago, but I'm going to ask, there's a couple other ones here. So JG Butler, Mercathea Hughes, and I think those are all the other ones that rejoined as well. Okay, so let's go ahead now and say thanks to Super Stickers and Super Chats. And so anyone that gave back, I'm going to try to go through the list pretty quickly here today, but I want to make sure I say thanks to everyone. Touche B, 336 Tarot, so good to see you. You're consistently here and I appreciate it. Miss Optimistic, great name, thank you. Yvette Sanchez, thank you. And also, again, thanks for the membership. Ria Coleman, Phoebe Alona, I can't say all the rest, Jepson, thank you. AB, thank you very much. Always good to see you. Heather Raposa, let's see, Rajal, I can't say it. I'm just going to say Raj. Thank you so much. Susan Russo, Robin Redman, Tina Cuevas, thank you so much for the $50. I appreciate that. Crystal McKnight, Kathy Aaron, thank you so much as well for the 50. Rasheen Charles, thank you. Jesse Lou, Yvonne, Michelle Hardman, let's see, Valerie Stevens, the Mad Monica, welcome back. Abby Miller, Amitabha, thank you. Amy Starseed Aquarius, Jordan Gloss, Tatiana, Bluebell, KK, twice, thank you. Jaya Journeys, Linda Hilliker, Carla Alexandra, let's see, Nanthina, I think. I hope it is Nantitha. That's it. Thank you. Michelle Baxter, Alicia. And by the way, Michelle, thank you for the 50 as well. Alicia 473717. Janina, I think it is. Thank you. Kathy Fox, Marusha, Perul, 62 and Sunny, Georgian, Justice Astro Tarot 999, Denise Wander C, and let's see, Shintan 1288. Thank you so much, everybody. Great to see you today. So much great participation. I appreciate it. Welcome to the new channel members. Ruby Red, I see you just gave back too. I appreciate all of you. I'm going to continue to look at some new decks. I may post something just to kind of see if there's some new stuff that you'd like me to use on the channel. I always try to upgrade it when I get a chance. Thank you to Maria Margarita for your help in moderating. I'll see everybody that's a Pisces tomorrow that has any Piscean placement or just wants to show up. And I'll be back again on Thursday and Friday of next week and Sunday, even though I haven't announced the dates. I'll see you soon. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend and happy almost December. We're right on the precipice of that. Lots of love and light, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.